Okay, thank you very much for the introduction and for the invitation. Today I'm going to be talking about how to do machine learning for data streams, and I would like to use the Internet of Things as a good motivation for that, because Internet of Things is going to be something really, really important in the next 5 years. So I would like to mention how to do machine learning for data streams. I'm going to be focusing on how to build models, not how to deploy, but how we create models online, and should be models that are adaptive, okay? Because data may be changing, and we want to do that on real time. And then I'm going also to mention some of the open source tools that we are working on that works on Spark, on Apache Flink, Storm, but also the non-distributed ones that works on Java and on Python. Okay, so let me start. So first of all, I'm going to talk about this machine learning for data stream. This is a recent book that we have published at MIT Press that is available open access. So if you are interested, you can read online. So yeah, I'd like to mention that Internet of Things is something that I think is going to be something big in the next 5 years. The number of devices that are going to be connected in 2020 is going to be so huge, and all of this data is going to be, all these devices are going to be producing a lot of data, and if we want to analyze this is going to be a real challenge. Also, if we look at popularity, this is a Google trend. If we look at the popularity of big data and Internet of Things, we see that big data was really popular 5 years ago, but now we see that Internet of Things is starting to be much more popular than big data. And also, if you've seen this very nice talk this morning of Professor Jon Stojka, real-time data science, real-time analytics is something that is attracting a lot of attention right now, and it's something that is going to be really important in the next years. So how we do machine learning for data streams? So in the traditional setting, what we have is that we have our data set that is stored, that could be stored in memory or could be stored in disk. And then what we do is that we build our model, okay? And then we deploy it and we use it. So the first thing is that we suppose that we have all the data available, so all data is in memory. And the other thing is that we suppose that data is static, so there is no change on the data. But what happens when we are dealing with data that is produced on real time and we want to learn on this data? First, we don't have all the data in one place, so data is going to be arriving. And the second one is that data may be changing, so data maybe is not static. So for this, the data stream approach is that every time we see when a new instance arrives, we're going to use this data to update our model. So we're not going to wait to have all the data and then build our model. What we're going to do is that we are going, every time a new instance arrives, we are going to update. The nice thing of this is that we can be adaptive. So our model, once we are updating, we can also change it and we can modify it so it corresponds to the current distribution of the data. So why this is important? So this is an example of a classifier on spam on Yahoo News. So the idea is that we have a model that we built it and we don't update it. This is the blue one. What we see is that the performance goes down over time. If it's one that is adaptive, what we see is that it has the capability of not losing performance and to continue being a good classifier. So this is the main advantage of this. So this is why we call this data stream mining or machine learning for data streams. The idea is that data arrives continuously, and we are going to be updating our model using the less amount of resources. That means time and memory. And also at the same time, we are going to be adaptive, and we are going to be detecting change and adapting our models. So to do that, basically we are going to be using approximate methods. So the idea is that if instead of having one solution in 1 hour, we can have one approximate solution in 1 second, we'll prefer this approximate solution. So we'll go for real, very fast methods. Okay, so let me mention some methods for classification. So as you know, in classification, what we do is that we want to predict one of the attributes that is non-numeric, that is a discrete attribute, and we want to predict classes. So one method that is really, let's say, important because it's really to understand what's going on, it's easy to interpret, is the decision tree. And also the second reason is because we can use it to make ensembles at random forest. So this is why decision trees are very popular. One of the problems with decision trees is that they are not streaming, okay? They are not incremental. So the idea is that every time we need to decide if we split a node or not, we need to look at the instances that we have in memory. So how we can build a decision tree that is streaming? Okay, so the only thing that we need to do is to change how we do the splits. So every time we want to do the split, as we cannot access the data in memory, what we are going to do is that we are going to wait for new instances to arrive. And then we are going to use the information from the new instances. How many instances do we need? So to know how many instances do we need to decide if we split or not, we use the halving bound. So this is why these streaming decision trees are called halving trees. Okay, and then this is an algorithm that was proposed by Pedro Domingos in 2000. And the basic idea is this. Every time we need to do split, we're going to look at the difference of the information gain, and if the difference of the information gain is higher than a certain threshold, then we are going to split. So this is a very popular method right now. So for example, if we look at TensorForest, implementation inside TensorFlow, so they use also halving trees as decision trees because this is a method that is really, really fast. So also halving tree is also known as a very fast decision tree. Okay, so now this decision tree is the method that is static. So what happens when we have concept drift? So concept drift means that the data is changing, the data is evolving, and then we need to handle this. So to do that, we use these concept drift detectors that basically what they do is that we have this sequence of data, and then we are going to see if there is a difference on this sequence. Basically, in machine learning, we are going to look at the error of the classifier, and we are going to see if there is an error if there is a change on the error of the classifier. If there is a change on the error of the classifier, then we are going to change the model. To do that, we have this method that is called ADWIN. This is an adaptive size sliding window that is able to detect change. Basically, what it's doing is that, okay, we have a sliding window where we have the data, and then we're going to see if there is a difference between the recent data and the oldest data. If there is a difference, then we are going to remove the oldest part of the sliding window. And doing this, we can detect if there is change or not. So the nice thing of this is that then we can use this method inside the decision tree. So in that case, we put one change detector, ADWIN, in each one of the nodes of the decision tree. And then when this ADWIN, this change detector, detects that there is a change in the error, so the error is increasing, what it's doing is that it's starting a new branch. And if the new branch is more accurate than the previous one, it's going to replace the previous branch with the new one. Okay, so doing this, our tree is going to be adapting and is going to be changing the branches continuously over time. But as you know, when we are in real settings, we really need powerful methods, and then for this, random forest is really good in the sense that combines an ensemble of decision trees. So last year we presented this adaptive random forest. So the idea is that is an adaptive classifier that is based on random forest. So basically it's using random decision trees for streaming. In that case, it's using random halving trees, and then it's using bugging. Okay, so doing this, we have a very, very good method. Okay, so now I would like to introduce a little bit the open source frameworks that we have and we are working on for doing machine learning for data streams. So I would like to start with this MOA. So MOA is an open source tool from the University of Waikato. So this is from the same group of Weka. So if you know Weka, so this is like Weka, but in that case we are supposing that we don't have data in memory and data is arriving continuously, and we are going to mine this on real time. And there are many, many methods for doing machine learning. We have classification, regression, clustering, frequent pattern mining, and many others. I don't know if you know, but New Zealand is famous for birds, for native birds that they only exist in New Zealand, and Weka is one of these. But MOA is also another bird. The only difference is that MOA was much bigger and now it's extinct. So if we compare, for example, the size of a MOA and a weka, really the MOA was a much bigger bird. No? It was really, really big. So this is comparing with the size of a human. So that was really, really big. Okay, so we can use MOA from many, we can use it from the command line, from the Java API, but also from the graphical interface. So let me only show you how this works. So for example, in that case, I'm going to, we have different tabs. This is the tab for classification, regression, multi-label, multi-target, clustering, outlier detection, concept brief, active learning. I'm going to show you a quick example of classification. So here we are going to do an evaluation of a stream using Naive with 1 million instances. So the difference here is that we don't get only one number of accuracy, we get a time series, okay? So now, for example, I'm going to try it also with a Hofding tree instead of Naive Bayes. We can have, this is two methods that are comparing. So, you know, in the standard clustering, we have this set of points. So these are the points that we have. And then basically we have our methods. It could be naive, could be k-means, could be dbscan. And then we get our results, okay? And then the difference is that in streaming, what is happening is that data is evolving continuously, okay? So that means that we don't, the clusters are going to be changing continuously, clusters are going to be merging, are going to be splitting, so everything is happening on real time, and we need to be able to compute this on real time, okay? So this is how this clustering for data stream works. And again, here you can see also the measures that are also evolving over time depending on the evaluation of this. Okay, so let me continue. So this is the graphical interface. So we have also a command line, so we can also use MOA from the command line. We can specify what is the task that we want to do, what are, for example, where the data that we're going to use, what's the classifier, how many instances, and we can do like this. Also, we can use it from the Java API. So there are many, many algorithms. So we have, let's say, classification, regression, but also we can learn on multiple attributes at the same time, okay? Not only one, but several, and then this is called multi-output or multi-label if it's discrete attributes, or multi-target if they are numeric attributes. We can do also layer detection, concept brief, active learning, frequent items and mining. So when we want to find the frequent patterns, we can do on items and on graphs. And also we have one recommendation system. There are other tools that use MOA. So for example, we have this Adams. This is a workflow engine from also University of Waikato. So the idea also is, instead of writing the code using Java, we can write the code of how to do these processes using this tool. And finally, we have this OpenML. This is a collaborative site for doing data science in a collaborative way. The idea is that we can run our experiments that could be in RapidMiner, Weka, Scikit-learn, and also MOA, and then we can share our results on the cloud. Okay, we share the data sets, and we share also classifiers and the results of our experiments. So this is also very nice software for doing machine learning. Okay, so we have seen this tool that is basically on Java, but it's not distributed. So, but yeah, nowadays for dealing with large scale machine learning for big data, we really need to combine both, this streaming and distributed. So for this, we started this project at Yahoo Labs in Barcelona. That's now in the Apache incubator that is called Apache Samoa. The idea is to have a tool that is able to perform machine learning for data streams inside the Hadoop ecosystem. So in this case, what we do is that we have a Samoa high-level API. So we write our classifiers, clusters, frequent pattern methods using the Samoa API. And then after that, we can decide where we deploy it. We can deploy it in Storm, in S4, in Flink, in GRPump, or in Apex. And yeah, so it's very convenient because we can really only use the Samoa API, and then after that we can deploy it in any of these systems. The important thing is that this is our stream engine. So that means that they are processing data examples one by one. Okay, so we'll see that's different with Spark. That Spark is processing with micro batches of data. So this is our really streaming engine, and they process data one by one. So yeah, just to show you a little bit how this works. I'm going to focus on the decision tree. So basically there are two ways that we can have a distributed decision tree. One is doing horizontal partitioning and the other is doing vertical partitioning. Okay, so horizontal means that we partition by examples, and vertical we partition by attributes. So there is this nice work of Benjamin and TomTom. Basically the idea is that we are going to split the statistics that are going to build the histograms before we get this data inside the model. And then we are going to use this to continuously be updating the model. So let me show you an example. So imagine that we have this instance. So the red attribute is the class that we want to predict, and the green one is the second attribute that we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, when we this instance is going to go to this node, okay, and then the information of the green attribute is going to kept there. Another instance arrive, and then this is going to be sent to another node, and then the information of the second attribute is going to be in that node. So in that case, yeah, all the information of the same attribute is really distributed into several nodes. And then all of this is combined and then is sent through the histograms to the model. The vertical partitioning, this is the one that we have implemented in Samoa. The idea is that we distribute statistics on the different nodes. So the idea is that we are going to have the model, and then we are going to distribute the statistics by attributes. And this is information that we are going to use to decide when to split. Okay, so in this case, yeah, when an instance arrive, again, if we look at the second attribute, the green one, so this is going to go to the leaf of the tree, and then the second attribute is going to go to one of the nodes. Okay, again, we have another instance arrive. In that case, the information of this second attribute is going to go to the same node. Okay, so that's the difference with the horizontal partitioning. Here we have all the information of the same attribute is going to go to the same node. Okay, so this is Samoa that works for these stream engines as Flink and Storm. But as you know, Spark is really, really popular nowadays. And the difference is that, yeah, Spark until now has been working with this Spark streaming. The idea was to distribute, to make split a stream into RDDs. So then we were using, instead of processing only one example, we were processing micro batches. So it could be 1,000 examples at the same time, or could be the instances during 1 second. So the problem is latency. So in Spark, in that case, we couldn't have a latency milliseconds. In Spark, we have latency that are around seconds. But for many applications, this works fine. So yeah, so that's the idea of Spark. We divide the stream into different, this stream, we divide it into RDDs, and then we process the RDDs using the traditional Spark. So for this, yeah, we have this StreamDM software. This is a project that was started at Huawei Noah's Ark Lab in Hong Kong. And this is a project in Scala. So Samoa and Moa were in Java, so this is in Scala. And it's a specific design for Spark. Okay? All of these tools are open source and they are available in GitHub. And finally, yeah, let me mention that Many people nowadays work with Python. As you know, scikit-learn is a very popular tool. And scikit-learn, by the way, is a project that was started in Paris. And yeah, this is why this year also we are starting this project that is called Scikit Multiflow. The idea is to have a open source tool like Moa, but in Python, okay? Yeah, the idea is that then it would be possible to have Jupyter notebooks. Yeah, you can see this is an example of a code, so this is really similar to Moa. We have the streams, we create the streams, and we use the classifiers, in this case, this Hofding tree, and then we do this frequential evaluation. That's the evaluation that is specific for streaming, means that every time a new instance arrives, first we test and then we train. So this is the alternative to cross-validation, because we cannot use cross-validation in streaming. So this is how it works. And yeah, also we have these nice results that we can see. This is nice because we can put that inside the Jupyter notebooks, but again, the accuracies, the performance is not one number. Here it's always going to be a time series that is going to be changing over time. Okay, so just to conclude, yeah, I wanted to explain a little bit why machine learning for data streams, how we can build already machine learning methods in real time. The Internet of Things is a very, very nice application, and I think that this is something big that is coming in the next 5 years. And we have already these open source tools that are available and we can use to perform experiments. This is Moa in Java, Samoa, also in Java, but distributed for Storm and Flink. We have also StreamDM for Spark, and this new software that we are starting now, Scikit Multiflow in Python, that follows scikit-learn. If you are interested in this topic, we have this new book that we have just published at MIT Press, Machine Learning for Data Streams. It also has open access, so you can read it online if you are more interested in this topic. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Albert. We have time for a few questions.
I know you're dealing with the tools, but what kind of sizes are we talking about? What throughput? How much data is arriving per second? How big are your databases? How many people? How many queries per second?
Okay, so the idea is that we can use, we use really this with Kafka. So this is the way that we can use or Samoa or StreamDM. The idea is then that what we can do is that we have all of this data that is coming, and then we use this to process data. It's true that still we are not doing multi-stream machine learning. So still we are dealing with one type of data that is arriving continuously, and then we can deal with this. So this is something that in research now is starting to have some publications on this. So the idea is that, okay, we have different streams that are arriving from different types, and then we want to combine them so we can build more powerful methods. So this is something that is there. At this moment, we are using the standard Flink or Storm or Spark, and then we are limited to let's say to the characteristics of these tools. I'm not having the numbers of throughput, but in the papers that we have on the vertical Hofding tree, we show this, and then we can see how it compares. It's really competitive and it works quite well. Thanks.
Question?
Hi, thanks for the talk. Very, very interesting. I wanted to know if you can comment about the memory consumption of Moa mainly, and also whether you can extract the model, like a snapshot of the model, so we can use it only for predictions and not to continue training.
So if I understand, so you are saying that we can also use MOA as a, so we can build for out of core learning. Okay, So that's I think that's a nice thing of this is that we have these models. We are building these models. Then at each time we have like a snapshot. So then this is something that we can do. We can take snapshots and then we can decide how we combine them. We can really store them and then we can get back to them. And there are, for example, some works that what they use is that they have a pool of classifiers, and then if they are recurrent concepts. So imagine that we learn something, but then now the concept changes, so our model should change. But this is something that was there before. Maybe the only thing that we need to do is to reuse one of the classifiers that we have built before. Yeah, this is something very, very useful. Memory consumption. So, this is one of the important things in data stream mining, in machine learning for data stream. So we are always looking not only at accuracy, but we're using at time and memory. So in that case, for example, we have different settings in the sense that, for example, it's not the same. We built a model that we are going to be computing that in the cloud, or we are computing a model that we are going to use in a small device. And then this is something that we really need to be very, very, let's say, very, we need to optimize this. Let me see an example. Imagine that we really need to build a model that is really in a sensor that it uses less, and we can use a model, for example, naive Bayes, or we can use a perceptron, or we can use a very simple model that is not going to use nothing of memory. If we have more memory, then we can use a decision tree, for example. This is something that is going to be much more. So what is the relation between the memory and the input? So that's the restriction on data stream mining is that the constant should be maximum constant. Okay, so we cannot store all the data. We need to suppose that the data we are going to have is the memory that we are going to have is constant. So then basically we cannot overpass this. So so in that case, there is no problem on this.